Brings us to our 7th agenda item. I see our team coming up already. This is our Road to Tomorrow progress report. And as they come up, I wanted to let the citizens of Springfield know that we're very excited to have this report in Springfield. We were hosted last night at the E-Factory, which is a center for, as you know, entrepreneurship and innovation. And it's not by accident that we're here in Springfield in December. This is much later than we normally come to Springfield. But this was the time period when we wanted to make a 6-month progress report on the Road to Tomorrow. And we chose Springfield as the community where we would like to make that report as kind of a tip of our hats to the innovation that's occurring here in Springfield, and perfect timing with our Tech 44 presentation earlier, because our team up here, led by Tom Blair, is going to talk to us about some of the emerging technologies and innovation that we're looking at with an eye towards finding new revenue sources as well. So Tom, welcome to you and your team, and I'd ask you to go ahead and introduce your team members.
All right, if it's okay, Chairman, they're going to introduce themselves.
Perfect.
You'll see as this flows here. I do want to make sure everyone knows who I am. I am Tom Blair. I am part of MoDOT's St. Louis District leadership team, and I am leading our Road to Tomorrow initiative. And I want to thank Chairman Miller and the Commission for allowing our team a few moments today to provide you, everyone in the audience, and everyone watching us on Ustream live video right now via the internet, and possibly recorded in the future an update. So thank you for that opportunity. So it began 6 months ago that you, the Commission, kicked off our Road to Tomorrow initiative at your June Commission meeting in Kansas City, Missouri at the Union Station with an overflowing room of spectators and media. On that date, 6 months ago, MoDOT offered 200 miles of Interstate 70 for a laboratory of innovations. And we branded that effort Road to Tomorrow. We immediately, as a team, began receiving 21st century innovations and new funding opportunities. To date, 6 months later, I can tell you that we have received over 240 what I call level 1 submissions. 240 unique submissions have been made to our MoDOT Road to Tomorrow team. I like to call those level 1. And of those, about a third of those as team leader, we found unique enough that I actually contacted them and have spoken to them and met with some of them and everything. I like to call those level 2. So again, of the 240 some, about 75 or so are level 2 innovations. And then we have our level 3 innovations, which is where the team and some of the rest of our MoDOT team actually took time and analyzed them. And that group is growing in number, but right now sits around 30 that we've actually spent quite a bit of time with. But today I want to spend the rest of our time focused on the level 4 innovations, which are those innovations that you see listed on the screen that we have spent the most time working with and are worthy of consideration for moving forward. So you can read that list, but I'm going to turn it over to the team and let them each start talking about the innovations that they've been working with.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Nelson. I work in MoDOT's Traffic and Highway Safety Division. One of the earliest ideas that was submitted to the team for review was the concept of turning I-70 into a smart highway. A smart highway is a road that consists typically of precast concrete panels that are embedded with some type of sensors that collect a variety of information. This information can then be shared with road users to enhance their travel experience by offering certain optional premium services. Such services might include things like improved wireless capabilities, assisted vehicle navigation, enhanced traveler information, or as in this picture here indicates, electric vehicle charging. These premium services offered to users would be completely optional, and they would be accessed through a paid subscription by the user. The idea is that the services would be so desirable that over time enough users would subscribe and pay subscriptions that would eventually generate revenue for the department. When you talk about I-70, the estimated cost to turn about 200 miles of I-70 into a smart highway is about $3.6 billion. It's been recommended to the team that any smart highway initiative in Missouri begin with a much smaller 1 mile long pilot project. This pilot project would allow us to evaluate, refine, and promote the technology. The estimated cost of a pilot project in that range is about $4 to $5 million.
My name is James Flum. I'm an assistant resident engineer out of the Kansas City district, and in the 6 months I've been looking at trucking efficiencies, which can be split up into two different ideas. The first is truck platooning, which has been brought to us by Peloton Technology Incorporated. Basically what truck platooning is you have two trucks that are wirelessly linked together such that the first truck is controlling the braking and the acceleration of the second truck. And this uses proprietary technology that has been developed by Peloton, and they will be working with the fleets and the carriers to implement this technology. Now, once linked, the trucks will operate at a distance of about 60 feet, somewhere based upon the conditions of the weather and the volume of traffic out on the roadway. And by operating at that distance, they have verified using different fleets that you can reduce fuel use, and you can also reduce accidents. One of the things, though, with this is that operating at a distance of 60 feet currently violates our tailgating law in the state of Missouri. But the necessary legislative action that would be needed for this has been included in the legislative agenda that you approved in the November commission meeting. The second idea is the idea of a truck ferry, and this idea has been brought to us by two different companies, Missouri Truck Ferry and Tubular Rails Drive-On Drive-Off Ferry. And the basic concept here is that they are going to load trucks, take trucks off the highway and load them onto specially built flat cars and then ferry them across the state, in the hopes of taking advantage of the fact that truck drivers have to have 10 hours of downtime each day anyways. Both these companies have cited numerous studies from different states that basically quantified the amount of damage per mile, so the cost per mile that a truck does to the roadway. And so by taking trucks off of our roadways, in theory, that would be less maintenance costs that we would have to spend for that. Now, both these trucking companies, or both of these truck ferry ideas, are not looking for any direct monetary investment from MoDOT. What they are looking for is an investment of time from MoDOT employees. And this is in the form of either looking for and writing grants, using contacts to set up meetings with the railroad or the trucking industry, and just in general offering our support of the company when they talk to other entities.
I'm Jen Harper. I'm a research engineer for MoDOT, and I've been looking into the topic of data and communication. The need for cellular data has increased exponentially in recent years and will continue to do so. Most of us 10 years ago, when we got a phone, we made phone calls and maybe even texted. It's very different today. People are streaming videos and watching movies on their phone. The idea that has been brought to us is to allow data and communication equipment on MoDOT's infrastructure, not the big towers that we're used to seeing, but smaller equipment such as microcells and distributed antenna systems. The concept would be to work with a third party that would market MoDOT's right-of-way and our infrastructure. There would be no monetary commitment from MoDOT. It would just take some staff time to review contracts and plans. Once the costs are recouped by the private partner, MoDOT would begin sharing in the revenue that is generated. This has the potential to have ongoing revenue stream for Missouri. A possible next step would be to do a request for proposal to do a pilot project within Missouri to take a certain amount of roadway and pilot this concept.
All right, I'm standing in for one of our missing Road to Tomorrow team members, Bob Brindle, who normally works in our central office communications division. And Bob has been leading the effort on our Road to Tomorrow team, corralling the large group of funding proposals that we have received through the Roads to Tomorrow initiative. Tolling as a public-private partnership is one, and most notably largest group in there in this bucket of level 4 innovations, but there's a lot of other ones. It's a very deep and broad bucket, including taxing on speed, as I've mentioned to you before, taxing on tires, corridor taxes, and the like. Similar to other things that MoDOT's learned over the years, there is a great consensus of additional investment in transportation by all of these innovators in this group, but there's no agreement on the exact funding source, and there is a lot of innovation in the group that we have gathered through this. All of the ones that we have in this group would generate new transportation funding at various levels, and all of them would require legislative or constitutional changes or a public vote.
My name is Kellen Burns, and I work in MoDOT Communications, and I get to talk to you today about alternate travel. Alternate travel is basically an idea that these innovations would supplement the current I-70 corridor. So they really reduce the burden that I-70 carries currently. They reduce transit times, potentially reduce congestion, reduce repair, and could potentially reduce the need to expand I-70. The idea that we feel currently has the most momentum in this realm is Hyperloop. Hyperloop uses pneumatic technology, which is pressurized tubes and a vacuum system used to push pods down the track. It's been coined the fifth mode of transportation because it has the potential to reach speeds of 750 miles an hour. There are currently 3 large companies developing the technology for Hyperloop. CEO Rob Lloyd of Hyperloop Technologies believes that they'll start constructing the first Hyperloop in 3 years, and they'll be transporting people and goods in 5. Because this is still a concept, there is no defined revenue stream, although it could be potentially land lease or revenue sharing. The next steps, we believe, should be to partner with states along the I-70 corridor to make the corridor more attractive to this fifth mode of transportation.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up with our final 2 level 4 innovations, energy and advertising. So let me start with energy. So as it sort of is implied, this is simply the creation of energy on our public right-of-way. And I can tell you this is the single most popular innovation that has been submitted to us by numerous individuals. Some of them are just fans of green energy, and some of them actually want to truly implement energy on our right-of-way. The picture that I have on the slide for you today is the most current, and it's changed since we presented back to you in September, of solar roadways, solar panels that can be driven on. That's our most current prototype of that they're still developing the technology. This creation of energy is a growing trend amongst departments of transportation across our country. Some of the leaders in this are Nevada, Oregon, and Massachusetts, and I've had the chance to speak to all of them. There's some of the simple benefits of creation of energy on our right-of-way are to reduce our electric costs, to create a revenue from the lease of our land to create this energy, and also a highly visible and innovative partnership. The next step for energy on right-of-way would be to utilize a public-private partnership to finance, construct, and maintain a renewable energy facility on our right-of-way. The final level 4 innovation that we want to share with you today is advertising. And simply put, this is selling the right to advertise on public right-of-way. The example picture I have there is one of our innovators that submitted to us his concept. He had lots of pictures. This is just one, where he took a picture of one of our existing bridges over an interstate and said, look what I could do with it by putting advertising on it, and talked to me about how much money he believed he could sell that space for. So this model of advertising on right-of-way is a funding model that is well established in many other public arenas. The possible generation of funds here can be significant, but I don't want to allude to any of you as commissioners or anyone in the audience that this would create $2 to $4 billion in the near future, which is the amount of money we project we need to be able to rebuild and possibly improve I-70 across our state. But the money could be significant if we chose to advertise on right-of-way. The next step for this innovation would be work with Federal Highway and try to get their support to pilot a section of an interstate where we could advertise on the interstate right-of-way. That concludes our list of level 4 innovations that we want to share with you today. But I do want to give you a couple other things. So as I mentioned at the beginning, our team has received many submissions, and we still have some to go through. So we still have quite a bit of work to do, including there was a large wave of innovations that were submitted to us that were very detailed with our formal request for information that we sent out back in September. That closed a couple weeks ago, and I have a desk full of innovations that I'm trying to read through and really digest and get the nuggets and talk to those individuals to really get in there. I am confident some of them will become level 3 innovations, possibly some of them level 4, and I hope that we'll be able to bring them to you at future commission meetings. So as I conclude, I would say Road to Tomorrow continues to be open for business, and we continue to seek more innovations and partnerships. I would ask everyone to actually go and submit their ideas at our webpage on MoDOT.org's webpage. So thank you, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Commissioners?
Good presentation. You're moving in the right direction.
Thank you.
Every month, I just wonder what you're going to have next. Your whole team.
Yes.
It's always one of my favorite parts of the meeting is hear this new side and stuff. It's kind of, when that long ago, somebody thought of the idea of walking around, talking on the phone when you're outside. It's pretty exciting what could happen.
Yes.
Tom, I have a couple of questions. First for James Flum. This is on the Peloton trucking. You talked about there being a reduction in fuel use. Have you seen any figures at all regarding the savings or percentage of savings?
Yes. So Peloton partnered with a major fleet, and they did a trial run to test this. And what they found was by the trucks being so close together, the first truck saved 4.5% in fuel cost, and the second truck saved 10%.
Those are pretty significant numbers for if you get a large truck fleet. That's interesting. Okay. And so I think you told us that really the next step there is enabling legislation to allow us to start to test or pilot it on our roads.
That is correct.
Okay, great. And then, Tom Blair, you were talking about the advertising. You said that support was needed from the Federal Highway Administration. On the advertising, what needs to be done with Federal Highway Administration to move forward with further exploration of that?
Well, as you travel around our country, you don't see much advertising on public right-of-way, especially our interstate system. And so we need to partner with Federal Highway Missouri Division to see if we can package something together that we could get Federal Highway Division as a federal agency to support as a pilot.
So I take it that currently federal regulations would preclude the type of advertising that we saw up here.
Yeah, there's many obstacles in front of many of these that we presented to you today, but in that particular case, advertising on right-of-way, I think the first partner we need to get on board is going to be Federal Highway. Okay. And then we'll have some others that we can tackle along the way once we get them on board.
And you see that as requesting some permission to pilot something?
Yeah, most likely pilot, and even talking to some of our advertising innovators, they felt like, probably starting small is going to be the way to do it, to prove that you can do it. There's less obstacles if you start small and make certain that there is actually a market for that advertising.
Great. And then you also continue to encourage people that you said the Road for Tomorrow is still open, still taking submissions. You also mentioned the RFI. Is there the fact that is the RFI still open, or is that deadline passed? Yeah,
so we did a formal request for information back in September when we presented to you at our 3-month milestone, and that closed a couple weeks ago. The number of formal and very detailed submissions that we received from that is numerous, and many of them came in at that final 12th hour of the RFI a couple weeks ago. So we haven't had time to dig through all of them, but it did generate a lot of interest, and a lot of our partners and innovators around the country and world took note of that formal RFI.
But just for clarity's sake, even though the RFI period has closed, you are still accepting submissions?
Yeah, absolutely. The RFI was just one formal process, but we started opening our doors on June 3rd when you launched Road to Tomorrow as a commission, and the doors are still open. You can simply go to our webpage and create a submission now. You'll be one of our level 1s initially, and possibly all the way to level 4.
Great. Okay, any other follow-up questions from any of our commissioners? Well, Tom, thank you to you and your team. Keep up the great work, and I think we're hoping to see you maybe in another 3 months' time to let us know how progress is going along.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.